The air in my grandma's room was heavy, a mix of dried herbs and the dusty smell of old paper. Tonight, it was even heavier, almost thick, like the smell itself had become solid, sticking to my throat and making it hard to swallow. She sat on the edge of the bed, her hands twisted together, the skin thin and almost translucent in the dim light. I could see the faint blue veins underneath, like a map of time. "You should never go to the river after dark," she said, her voice low and rough, like stones rubbing together. "The water remembers." I was young, and the river was where we played all day, splashing and laughing. I laughed, a nervous sound in the heavy silence of the room. "It's just water, Grandma." She didn't smile. Her eyes, dark and deep, held a weight I couldn't understand. There are things in the water that aren't water. Things that wait, things that crave. I tried to talk about something else, like school or friends, but she wouldn't let me. She leaned closer, her breath warm and smelling of cloves. She told me about a woman, a young woman, who went to the river at midnight, because she heard a song no one else could hear. A haunting tune, she said, a call from deep down. The woman never came back. Days later, they found her clothes on the bank, folded neatly, like she had prepared herself. But her skin was gone, every bit of it, leaving only bones. I told myself it was just a story, meant to scare me, to keep me safe. But the way she looked at me, her eyes dark and serious, filled with a deep fear, made my stomach twist into a knot. A cold feeling settled in my bones. Weeks later, the heat was unbearable. The nights were long and restless, the air hot and stuffy. I couldn't sleep, my thoughts going back to my grandma's story. The river was close, and the thought of cool water, of feeling better for a minute, was too tempting. I told myself I would just dip my feet in, nothing more. A quick escape from the heat, a moment of peace. The moon was small, barely lighting the narrow path to the river. The air was still, no wind, just the steady, low sound of the river flowing. I reached the bank, the sand cool and rough under my bare feet. The water looked black, a darkness that didn't let any light through, only a little starlight. The silence was heavy, broken only by the soft sound of the water touching the shore. I sat on the edge, dangling my feet in. It was cold, shockingly cold, a chill that went all the way through me and made me shiver. But the coolness felt good on my hot skin, a little bit of relief. Then, I felt a pull. Not strong, but it kept pulling, like something was gently tugging at my toes, trying to bring me closer. I pulled my feet back, feeling a little worried. But the pull came again, stronger this time, a real tugging feeling. I looked at the water, and it seemed to move even though there was no wind. A small, almost invisible change in the black surface. Something moved under the water, something big and dark, a shadow moving in the deep. Panic seized me, a cold feeling grabbing my heart. I stood up fast, my heart beating like a drum. I turned to run, to get away from the darkness and the cold, but my feet wouldn't move. The sand felt like it was holding me down, like it had turned to glue, trapping me in place. The pull came again, and this time, it was like a hand, cold and strong, grabbing my ankle. It held on tight. I screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the night, lost in the big emptiness. I tried to pull away, to get my leg free, but it held on tighter, the coldness going into my bones. I fell to my knees, digging my fingers into the sand, trying to hold on, to keep myself from being pulled away. The water was coming up the bank, the darkness getting closer, and the pool was dragging me closer. I could feel the coldness spreading, going into my skin, chilling me to the core, like a deathly embrace. Then, just as suddenly as it began, it stopped. The grip released, the cold hands was gone, and the water went back, retreating back into the darkness. I lay there, breathing hard, my body shaking. I didn't move until the first light of morning touched the sky, a pale light coming through the darkness. I never went back to the river at night. And even in the day, I never went in the water, not even to dip my toes. I remember the way my grandma looked at me, her eyes filled with fear, with a knowledge of things I couldn't comprehend, and I knew she wasn't just telling a story. She was warning me, trying to protect me from something ancient and scary. And I almost didn't listen, almost walked into the waiting darkness.